muggy and wet and rainy, and I'm in Texarkana. What's going on, guys? This is Anthony, Family Man Trucking, and welcome to my channel. It's Saturday afternoon. It's muggy and wet and rainy, and I'm in Texarkana, and it's December 19th, 2020. And finally got my truck late last night after a couple of days being down, and it is what it is, but I am so happy that they finally fixed the problem, and I'm not on my way because I don't have a load because it's the weekend, and it's very hard to get loads on the weekend, guys. The brokers are off. They don't work on the weekends. Some loads are just being carried over to the next day, and what's on the board that I was told was stuff that we're not allowed to carry. So what it is, but wanted to come to you guys with the video on certain things that we need to have with us, as in the supplies, just in case you guys need it, depending where you're running. And there are items that unfortunately are left unnoticed that we need. And let me go ahead and get them. I have them inside of my compartment, and so I'll be right back. Guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had to go, step outside and get the two items that I'm referring to. But yeah, these two items are left, I would say, somewhat unattended, and it's not because we forget or anything like that. It's just that we're not used to them sometimes, and I know I wasn't. And I'm gonna start with the first one. A couple of weeks ago I was coming out of Minnesota, and I was heading towards Texas, and the weather was pretty low. I mean, it was in the low 20s. That night it got over into the high 19s, high 18s, and when I got up in the morning to take off, as I took off, my check engine light came on. Now, on our truck, we drive here at MGR Lease. We drive. A lot of us drive either 2019s and newer trucks, but if you're driving an 18 or 17, usually it's set up the same way. But on here we have two different types of check engine lights. Okay, we have the basic check engine light, which is just the light itself. All right. And then there's another one that has a check engine light, but in the middle says engine. Okay, those two are different from each other. The one with the check engine light and it says engine in the middle of it, that mainly is solely about your engine, that there's something going on wrong with your engine. All right, and I highly recommend you pull over as soon as you can, safely that is, and see what's going on. Now, the one with just the check engine light with nothing in the middle is just an amber looking engine. Usually has to do something with either your DEF system or your regeneration or anything like that, from what I've been reading on, But when I had pulled away that morning coming out of Minnesota, that light came on, all right? And at the time, man, it's getting muggy. And it's only 3 o'clock. Texarkana, Texas, Arkansas, depending what side of the state line you're sitting on. Ugh. Anyways, lost my train of thought. Anyways, well, that morning when I left, that light came on. All right. So at the moment, I wasn't too sure what it meant. So I went ahead and pulled over, called my dispatcher. I told them, hey, I'm pulling over. My check engine light just came on. And, my truck at the time only had 37,000 miles. So I was like, man, this truck is too new for it to start having issues, So needless to say, I was checking through all my codes. It wasn't giving me anything, It was basically throwing me off because a light came on, but there's no codes coming up, So needless to say, I continued, all my levels looked fine, everything looked all right. Only thing was that, man, it was just cold outside. It was, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was like 19 degrees, And So yeah, it was cold that morning, I remember. But anyways, so I called my cousin. He's a truck driver. He's been around trucks, man, I would say over 30 years. And he's very knowledgeable about the engine. On what this means, what that means, or whatever you want to call it. And so I had called him. I told him the whole situation. I even told him that night that when it was trying to regen, that it was hesitating to regenerate. Like it would get rev real high, go back low, real high, go back low. And it was doing it for about a good 45 minutes. When regeneration on the truck usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes, but for some reason this time it was taking a while. But then it went ahead and did its thing and it turned off. So I told him that part too. So needless to say, I was trying to troubleshoot the issue on my phone, with my cousin. And he finally asked me, he's like, hey, well, where you at? Where are you coming out of? And I told him, I was like, man, I'm coming out of Minnesota. It's in the low 20s now, and it's just the lights on, but there's nothing going on. I don't see any codes. My truck is running fine, things like that, So he just kind of like just threw it out there, He's like, hey, well, is this the first time you're running up in the north, being that is just cold, And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, is this the first time your truck's been up there, And I'm like, yeah. So then he just like came out with it. He's like, well, did you gel your tanks? And I'm like, what do you mean gel my tanks? Because I'm from Texas, it doesn't really get that cold to where we have to gel our vehicles, So I didn't really know what he was talking about, I understand there's truckers out there that are going to probably find that, hey man, well, what kind of truck driver, or anything like that, back and forth. Needless to say, man, this is the first time I've been up in the north. Even when I was truck driving, I would stay as high as Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Louisiana. And that's as far as I got. Every once in a while, yes, I would go to California, over to New Jersey, but those were warmer temperatures when I would run. But he would ask me, my cousin asked me, did I gel my tanks? And I told him no. I really didn't know what he was talking about. So needless to say, when the temperatures get to a certain level, and he said basically under 32 degrees, 32, 31, in the high 20s and whatnot, we need to gel our tanks, and what he mean by that is basically is when it gets cold out here, the diesel fluid will gel over. It gels to almost like a pasty, rubbery product, Now, not the tanks itself, but the lines, okay? Because the lines are real thin and it gets real cold out here, and the tanks will gel. It turns onto like a pasty, rubbery, kind of like a Jello. So with that being said, this guy's pulling up right next to me trying to back up. So with that being said, guys, he just told me that when I get to a Walmart, not a truck stop, but when I get to a Walmart, to go in and buy some diesel treatment. Okay. Now, he was just telling me the stuff that he uses and stuff that he's uses in the past, and he didn't tell me why or what, anything like that, back and forth. But given that I trust my cousin, he's been around, this kind of stuff for about over, 20, 30 years, I'm taking his word, to the highest level, because he's been trucking for the longest time. He's a tanker, driver, but he recommended this. Okay, this is Hal's diesel treatment. Okay, it's a fuel injective. Prevents from deposit. It takes, eliminates water deposits in your tank. It cleans out your injectors. But the main purpose is to gel your tanks. One bottle can cover both tanks. Half in one, the rest of it in the other. All right, that will last you. If your tanks are full, that will last you until you need to fill up again. Okay, that will prevent from your lines from gelling over, which is very, very important, guys, because if your lines gel over, from what I've read, you have to change out your filter. Basically you're going to have to burn out whatever fuel that you have in your lines until it gets loose and goes through the filter. I even read sometime or somewhere to where you may even have to go to 2 filters just to get everything out of the line itself. Now that's true, I'm not really sure. I'm just trying to tell you, share the word that I've read. Okay, so it's very important, guys, when you're at a when you're at a Walmart, I recommend you guys get this if you guys plan on running in the cold weather, which we normally do out here in MGR Lease. You know, Chicago, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, over the PA, you know, anywhere if you know it's going to get cold, guys, because trust me, this will help out tremendously, because you don't want to be stuck somewhere if your lines are gelled. All right. Another thing also that we forget to do, that we forget to cover, is going to be our hub seals on our steer tires. Okay. I have this Lucas hub oil. Okay. It's 32 ounce. I got this also at a Walmart. Okay. Also at a Walmart. And I think that one was like $14. At a truck stop, they're close to $20. Okay. So there's another tip on to save money on where to get it, because you definitely don't want to get it at a truck stop. It's way too expensive. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, I don't want to take anything away from truck stops, but when you're trying to save money out here, any little bit helps, you know. So with that being said, guys, pay mind to your hub seals. You know, you're on your steer tires, you can see that black cap in there. Now, in the middle of that black cap, there's a little pinhole that's hard to see. Get a paper clip, pierce through it, free it up from any debris, because as it gets hot, okay, we know dirt composites, whatever you want to call it, may clog up, and as it gets hot, the pressure, it spits out the pressure, and it doesn't allow it if it's clogged up, and that's where your seals kind of get cracked, they bust it, and that's when you start getting those leaks from the hub seals, you know. And then check the fluid, the level that's on there, because as you see, when you pop that cap, you're gonna see a level on there, and it's gonna say add or full. Okay. Now, once again, guys, please understand, these are two items that are very important to us, especially going to be running in the cold, you know. But if this video's been helpful, give me a thumbs up, share, like, subscribe. If you guys have any questions, some other things, you know, and also while you're at Walmart, don't forget your washer fluid, man, because trust me, in the truck stop, they're like $5. Walmart, they're $2. They're like $1.97. And I went to Walmart last night and I got 2 gallons of on that, you know. So with that being said, guys, you know, I'm trying to share with you guys on helpful tips on how to save money, as well as stuff that you need on the road that's very important, because hopefully you guys have antifreeze, oil, washer fluid, maybe some even wiper blades, just in case, you know, you never know. But then also add these two to your list that you're gonna have to get, you know, especially if you plan on running up in the cold here pretty soon, because as the temperatures dip out there, guys, trust me, we got to take care of those lines, because you don't want them freezing over. So with that being said, guys, you guys be careful out there. Thanks for stopping by. This is Anthony, Family Man Trucking. God bless, and be careful.